Welcome to Stampscaping 101. This is going to be a follow-up to my previous video on brayered stamp imagery for kind of an option in terms of kind of large stamp usage and applications of those stamps. Okay, so we're inking up, if you haven't seen my previous video, inking up a very, very large stamp, approximately 10.5 inches across by 3.5 inches high. A big stamp, but more importantly, it has a lot of surface area on it. Okay, here is a wood-mounted version of the same stamp. Okay, you can see how large it is, and I can't even reach across it with my hand right here. It's just so long, but there's a lot of tight detail in here, and a lot of that high density applications of black little dots like that, which gives a stamp its kind of detail, amount of detail and resolution in terms of defining and describing the different forms that are within that image. Okay, so that being said, a lot of us buy unmounted stamps these days and utilize our stamps that way, price, storage, etc. Okay? But when it comes to large stamps like this, we can use them on acrylic blocks. Now, I did my video yesterday because there just is not an acrylic block that's going to fit this size of stamp. But what I found is that just in terms of usage, okay, brayering can be a pretty good option in terms of the amount of pressure needed to apply such a large stamp, again, with a lot of surface area. Okay, so I'm going to try this stamp. I went from rubber to paper in that video, but I was thinking, I was talking to someone today via email in terms of their usage of stamps, and I thought, well, you know, one of the things that they could do too is they can go paper to rubber. All right. Now, when we lay this down, this is a half-page card right here. Laying this down and not moving it around is going to be key to not getting a blurred, or to avoid a blurred impression, okay? So this is, and when we're using stamps this way, I mean, it's not going to be something that we're terribly comfortable with. We usually don't go paper to stamp like that, but, so I have a feeling it's just going to kind of, you know, takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm going to go center like this, and I'm going to make sure once I lay it down, it's not going to move, so I'm going to kind of lay it down like that. I think I moved it a little bit, but I don't know. And let's try this paper to rubber. I think I see the rubber moving a little bit, so maybe I need to apply the same practices that I did yesterday and not, you know, roll it out so far like that, okay? So let's see how this works here. And getting towards the end here, you know, I probably should avoid going right over that stamp because it's inked up out there, but I don't know. I guess if it does get some ink onto the back of the card, that's no big deal, right? Yes, it imprinted on this brayer right here, but that's okay. And like I said, I think I do feel a little bit of movement with this, but let's take a look. Oh, I'm mistaken. That's a good impression right there. And when I'm using this, one of the good things about this kind of methodology is I'm really using very, very little pressure. It's almost the opposite of what you want to do with a wood-mounted stamp. Now, I'm sitting down, too. Usually when I'm stamping large images, I stand up so I can apply more pressure over the whole surface area. And this one's the extreme example of impression pressure. Actually, I did a video earlier, years ago, that has to do with impression pressure, and I use this one as an example. But that looks pretty good. In fact, that impression might look even better than going rubber to paper, you know. All right, so let's try this on a photo print for a photo stamping application. Now, this is one where, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be using this whole stamp right here, you know, for a 4 by 6 inch photo print, but let's just see it right here. Okay, so placing down like so. Okay. And just going with a little bit of pressure across here like that. I mean, that is little pressure. I'm using like my little finger on this, you know, to get a little pressure going like that. And we have a good print. Actually, I mean, I thought I was going for a very light pressure, but I put a little bit more pressure up there so you can see those isolated dots. They really should be a little bit smaller like that. So use the process is really kind of the opposite of what you normally want to go for with impression pressure with high density images like that. So that's good. So that's really a good option for us in terms of what we want to do with our impressions here. Let me get another piece of paper. Okay, so let me try this. Okay, now I had a customer contact me about this stamp right here. This one has a lot of surface area. Those trees are, you know, they're basically solid silhouette, and she's using wood-mounted stamps. So I can see where she sent me some examples, and they're all missing kind of that center section right there, even though she's pressing on there. But let's try this stamp. This is the Lakeside Reflections Large, and let's just use it. Now I wish I had some smaller paper. I need to cut down some more quarter-size pieces here, but let's just say that we are going to use, you know, a quarter-size card like that. So let me just put it like this, okay? And let's see how this works here. So I'm going to press this down, and once it makes contact, don't, you know, readjust it or something like that, because you're going to be getting an impression like that. Okay, so again, oops, be careful on the edges like that. Okay, and I'm kind of using back and forth pressure, up and down, diagonal, whatever, just to make sure I get a full, complete coverage of this. And let's see how this works. Let me take a little peek here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Look at that. Now see, there's still that little area in there that's a touch lighter, but it's not too bad. I missed this tree up here, okay, like right up there, because I was brayering. But remember, this is on a wood block print, so it's sitting, you know, a ½ inch off the paper. If you're using unmatted stamps, then that would just go flush right down there, and it's much easier. But I'm kind of, you know, brayering off the edges right here. But that doesn't look too bad. Let's do another one, just to see if I can refine my technique right here. And I've never done this before, so it's not like, you know, this is some practice thing, and it's easier for me to do because I've been practicing with it. That was the first time that I've ever brayered on a wood-mounted stamp, okay? Oops, let's see. See, I'm used to going like this, okay? All right, so let's go with this. Let me just use my same piece of paper here. Okay, so right on. I'll use a little bit more pressure on that center area. Okay. This stamp right here, it's really excellent when you do coloring directly on the rubber too, so you can get multiple tones with that. Okay, so there you go. Now, okay, so I'm kind of rolling off the top of it. I got that side area on there, but I kind of missed that right there. But again, if this was nice and flat, you know, and unmounted on that, it's a little bit easier. But that's not too bad right there. You know, I got that whole center section in there. Okay, let's try this on a piece of matte paper. So this is a glossy cardstock like this. And then again, we have the matte on the back, because this is just single coated, so this is not coated unglossy on the other side. I think it's just completely uncoated. Okay, so let's go, and let me just use the same one right here. I think and it doesn't matter if it's dry or not. So let's go right here. Okay. Okay, let me make sure I'm getting all those trees up top there this time. Now, this is on the matte paper, it won't come out as dark because matte paper is absorbent. Now, I wouldn't do this with all stamps, I'm just doing this as an example of the larger stamps. You use little birds or something like that, you would never use this type of pressure, or brayering method. Just kind of the larger stamps that you're going to be working around. I wouldn't even do this on like a 2x3 inch E-size stamp. Alright, I totally blurred that one out. Let's see here. I think I moved. The paper must have moved on there. I wonder if it's because... Let me try this again right here. I wonder if it's because I was brayering on the glossy side? Maybe I moved it. I think I just happened to move it, maybe. Okay, let me try that again right here. Alright, let's see if we can refine the technique. Okay. I think that on this large piece of paper, I kind of lost where the stamp was underneath. Like I said, if this wasn't a wood-mounted stamping, I'd know a little bit more. Let me take a peek around the edge there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's take a peek here. Okay, perfect. And there it is. So that's your... Now, this was all smudgy before. That's not from this impression. I just used the back side of this, some of it overprinted like that. But here you have it right there. That's pretty clear. And again, this is an uncoated matte paper, so the ink is kind of spreading out in the grain. And it's not as crisp as that. Okay, so if you're using like a coated matte paper, it would come out much better than that because it would be clay coated. This printing on this side right here is like printing on like copy paper or something like that. This one's just thick. Okay, so let's move on here and let's try out. Okay, so that's using the wood-mounted version. If you're going to do this kind of methodology, I would recommend just kind of peeling this right off. And this comes right off like that. You can see where that would just peel right off, It's not going to fall off ever, but, it's easy to peel these things off if you're going to use that methodology from now on. You wouldn't use it on this, wood block sticking up like that. Okay, so let's try some other things here. Let's do this right here. Now let me just do 2-in-1 right here because I'm going to use this large piece of paper. Now I would never do this either, I'm just going to do this just to expedite this video here, but let's do, let me grab another piece of half-page paper right here. And let's just go like this, okay. Brayering on, going across like this. I hope these two pieces of rubber are exactly the same height, with the rubber and the pressing process. It might come out a little bit uneven, but we'll do it like this. So one image sticks out a little bit, and that's the Seaside Cove small, and this is a large stamp in the covered bridge. The large covered bridge. And again, this one is on glossy cardstock. Paper to stamp. Okay. Alright, looks pretty good. Alright, now I didn't get right there. Here's the thing about this. When you're brayering, you got to keep your bearings of it. But, I don't know, that right there. The rest of the impression looks excellent. And I think this is a really good option for people, just in terms of those larger stamps. When you're using the smaller stamps like this, there's not a lot of surface area on them. Even something like this, the Tree Trunk Trio or something like that. Although, there could be, there's quite a decent amount of surface area on this one, but the area of it in general isn't as large, so... you know, I don't know. I don't usually run into any kind of issues with that in terms of feedback, you know, an area not printing out. But the brayering process, it's not too bad, you know, be it taking rubber to paper or paper to rubber. I'm kind of thinking that the paper to rubber might be a better methodology than going rubber to paper. Just in terms of the paper is not malleable, so when I'm brayering across like this paper is not going to stretch, but if I do that on rubber, you know, as I'm coming across like this, let me see if you can see this. Now, I wouldn't do it this way, you know, in showing you yesterday. I'd kind of use more of these shorter strokes like this. But watch this, you know, again, if I brayer from right here, watch how this stamp moves. Okay. Actually, that one's stuck. Okay, let me see if I can get away. Yeah, okay, now see, as I'm coming across like this, see, this is kind of creeping that way. Watch this if I do this a couple times. See this, you know, this stamp has moved about that far. Now, I would never use that. This is an example of some bad, you know, technique right here, but, you know, see this kind of buckles like that, you know, as you're moving it across, but paper would never do that. Okay, now whether this is moving or not underneath here, I don't know. I don't think it would. Let me try to use really bad technique with this. I think would be bad technique. I don't know, it might come out perfect. So let me go right here. Okay, so paper. And let me just try to press really hard and just give one pass with this instead of these kind of shorter ones and lighter pressure. Yeah, I don't know. It came out okay. And that was with bad technique there too. You know, like I said, I just really squashed it down and gave one pass to it, but I don't know, that's not too bad up there. You can see right in here where it's a little bit darker. It's right where I was holding it with my fingers. Okay, so anyway, yeah. And like I said, this is the first time that I've really done this, so I got to get my kind of bearings a little bit. But for first tries like that, that's not too bad. So try it, you know, if you have some unmounted stamps and, you know what I mean, you're using the acrylic blocks and pressing hard, maybe this would be a good way to go. The thing is, it's all about positioning like this. Do you know where in relation, you know, you're going to be placing your stamps, and not being able to really check it out, you know, in relation to this card. But if you kind of have the general gist of where you'd like an image to go, I think it's easy to lay that down. And I would always work large stamps, and where I'd get that stamped out like that, and then I would work my smaller impressions around it, you know, where we're able to see the image itself, and it shouldn't be any type of issue with that. I wouldn't do small stamps and then, you know, sky and things like that and try to position that not being able to see, you know, in terms of your registration with that. So I don't know, another option for you there. And for me as well, I think I might employ this methodology in terms of creating my impressions in the future, as it seems like a pretty good one, and it's really, really gentle. It's as gentle as can be on your hands and joints and everything like that, you know, when using those larger stamps. Okay, so anyways, hope that comes in handy for you. I'm trying to think of anything else to say, but hey, this is all new to me too, and a little bit further exploration to do myself. So anyways, drop me a note in the comment section if you have any questions anyway, and I'll see if I can answer it.